Mwiriwe neza. Nk'uko byari bimaze kuvugwa, uyu mwiherero wa 14 duhuriye hano cyangwa n'ahandi, ngira ngo icyo bivuze nanone ni ukureba niba duhurira iki, inyungu tuvanamo twayibara dute. Ntabwo twagira umwiherero gusa, ariko tugomba no kumenya icyo tuvana muri uwo mwiherero, cyane cyane iyo bibaye inshuro nyinshi. Noneho bitwungura iki? Ndetse ubu noneho by'akarusho tugiye kugira umwiherero umara iminsi ikubye nka kabiri iyo twari dusanzwe tugira. Reka mbanze mbashimire akazi kenshi dufatanya gukora, dukorera igihugu cyacu mu nshingano dufite zo gukorera abaturage, zo gukorera igihugu ntawe dusize inyuma. Birumvikana rero ko ntabwo twaba dutera intambwe, kandi intambwe iragaragara, igihugu kigenda gitera. Ntabwo intambwe yaba igaragara nk'imaze kugaragara ku mikorere y'igihugu cyacu, naho kivuye naho kijya, n'imibereho y'Abanyarwanda, bidaturuka ko hari ibyiza bikorwa. Hari na benshi babigiramo uruhare. Ibyo nagira ngo mbibashimire nk'abayobozi b'iki gihugu. Ndetse ubwo ndashimira n'abaturage, kuko byinshi dukora ntabwo byagira umusaruro no kuri bo batabyitabiriye. Ni ukuvuga ngo inzego zose n'abaturage dukorera hamwe iyo ntambwe igaterwa. Nanone ikindi nakwibutsa, muri izo ntambwe dutera, ubundi amateka tumazemo iminsi, impindura amatwara, aho tuvuye n'aho tugana nk'Abanyarwanda. Ndavuga igihugu cyacu cy'u Rwanda n'Abanyarwanda. Harimo byinshi by'umwihariko ndetse biduha nanone kubaho, gukora, kumva, ku buryo nabyo bishobora kugira umwihariko wabyo kubera isano bifitanye n'ubuzima bwacu n'amateka yacu, aho tuva n'aho tujya. ngira ngo rero inshingano nini iremereye dufite, tuba twifuza ko buri wese aba akwiriye kubigiramo imyumvire mizima, nubwo byaba bitoroshye kuri buri wese, ariko ngira ngo ibyo byose tubifitemo ambition. Ambition ishingira ku bintu bimwe by'umwihariko nanone cyangwa duterwa na bimwe muri ayo mateka yacu. Ambition itubaza ngo kuki, wahera no kuvuga uti twibaza ngo ariko kuki ari twe twagize aya mateka asa nk'uko tuyazi. Abantu bose mu bihugu byose kuki ari twe byabayeho, kuki ari twe twagize 94, kuki ari twe twagize amateka yahereye mbere yatugejeje kuri 94. Hari byinshi dusangira n'abandi, abandi bo duturanye, abandi mu ntara ya Afurika, ariko kuki ari twe twagize uwo mwihariko wa genocide yabaye hano mu Rwanda. Genocide n'ibyatumye ibaho byo ntaho tuzabihungira, ni ibintu bizadukurikirana, bizahora bitubaza ngo kuki. Tugerageza uko dushoboye tukahangana n'ingaruka zabyo, tugeze kure muri byo, ariko ntaho abanyarwanda bazahungira ikibazo kibaza ngo kuki ari twe byabayeho, kuki ari u Rwanda byabayeho. Urumva rero ibyo ubwabyo biduhaye ikindi kintu cy'umwihariko. Ikindi kintu cy'umwihariko kivuze ngo kugenda muva muri aya mateka mujya aho abantu bakwiriye kuba bajya bagana, aho ibihugu bigana. Kubera iri zina rizabakurikirana igihe cyose, muzagomba gukora ibintu bijyana igihugu aho mucyifuza ku buryo butandukanye n'ubwo wenda mubona abandi bakoresha. uburyo bwo gukora kugira ngo muzave muri ayo mateka, duhanagure ayo mateka, tugende tugabanya inkurikizi zabyo, bizadusaba gukora ku buryo nanone butandukanye n'ubwo wenda abantu bamenyereye bazi babona ahandi. Binaganisha muri iyo ambition, muri ubwo bushake burenze bwo kugira ngo tuve aho vuba tugane aho abantu bakwiriye kuba bagana, mu majyambere, mu mibereho myiza muri rusange, tuba abantu bazima. Nicyo rero nise ambition dufite. Itari ambition gusa, ariko birimo na sense of urgency. Sense of urgency ni ukuvuga ngo ntabwo ushaka kugendera ku muvuduko nk'uw'abandi. Turashaka kugendera ku muvuduko nk'uwo ibibazo by'umwihariko byacu bidusaba. Umwihariko wacu w'amateka uradusaba a sense of urgency. Forget about many other examples you can give about how things are done in other places. That's okay for those people. That's fine. There is our thing here we must do. Hari ibitureba by'umwihariko bitagomba kuvuga ngo ariko n'abandi ko ari kuriya babigira ngo ko babigenza batya. Bifite umwihariko. Ambition, the sense of urgency, n'agaciro duhora tuvuga buri munsi. A dignified life that we must live. Because in our history, there has been that huge deficit. So we're trying to fill that gap. We're trying to cover an extremely huge deficit. I will not take long trying to analyze and debate with you and all kinds of things, the origin of this and that. That we have had time to discuss. We can have another time to discuss this, but my main point here today is to say there is a bad history. There is our ambition and desire to get out of that situation. There is a sense of urgency. There is a life of dignity that we deserve to lead and live. Now, if what I'm saying is agreeable to you, or is what it really is, especially starting with our own history and the dictates it has over us. If you agree, then our main task, our primary task, is to match our ambitions, our sense of urgency, with our deeds, our activities, and what we expect to be the outcomes. We have to match these things. You can't have ambition, a sense of urgency, and the desire to leave our history far behind us, and at the same time behave as if everything is okay. You can take your time, you can afford to forget, you can afford to not talk to one another, you can afford to feel that you have some entitlement of some kind. And therefore, other people owe you one thing or another. A sense of entitlement, which we have seen in the past, which has made us waste a lot of time. Sometimes you see it creeping back, sense of entitlement. What would be the reason for a sense of entitlement in a situation like ours? You are entitled to what? And who owes it to you? Who owes that to you? What are you entitled to? Who owes it to you? In this situation like ours. Where do you base doing things the way you want? Just the way you want. And moreover, as a leader, not the way it should be done, but the way you want. The way you want to do things is okay. But the matter is always resolved when we all sit together, each one brings their own ideas, and we agree that this is the best way to do things. When we have agreed, then I think there should be, rightly, little room for you to go back and do things the way you want, not the way we agreed. Maybe the way we agreed actually incorporates the way you wanted to do things. Maybe incorporates half of that. Maybe incorporates a quarter of that. But most importantly, it brings together all our views. Together. Our views together. Our choices, the way we have decided we should do things. That's very important. That's extremely important. If you want to step away from that, then you are simply really betraying the cause. The cause that puts all of us together as a nation and informs us that this is the best way we have agreed to go about things, that will deliver what we want, what we have decided we want. Of course, that's why it is important. Every day we shall stress this. Probably in this retreat we will be talking about that as well. I don't see how much we can deliver by not working together. We can debate, we can even quarrel, we can, do all kinds of things. But at the end of the day, we must arrive at agreeing something that is commonly important, good for all of us. When you talk about coordination, we talk about communication. Do we communicate? Do we inform? Do we... And every day, this presents us with a huge problem. Huge problem. It is actually very costly. It has a huge bill we must pay. Simple things, coordination, communication, talking to one another, simple things like that. Failure to do that is very, and has been, I'm not theorizing, I'm not talking about theories, I'm talking about things as they happen, as I see every day. It has a huge bill in front of us. At the same time, I want to believe, unlike some people who 15 years ago, 20 years ago, rightly said, this country, no skilled people, many uneducated people, therefore we have to outsource almost everything, every activity, everything you want to do. You look around, you have, people not qualified to do it, or very small number. But honestly, 15 years, 20 years down the road, I think we have covered huge ground. We have, practically. It's real. It's not just an imagination. I think we have. So therefore, I want to believe that even in this room, starting with this room, we have actually people who over the years have gained one thing or another. Even those who luckily were able at that time and had skills and had knowledge, and even at that time we had few. I want to believe that in 15, 20 years, they have accumulated even more capacity to enable us to do some of the things we have to do. Even complex tasks, we have few in the room who can perform those complex tasks. I believe so. But honestly, that's why in another language, the head, what is in your head never works alone. It needs your heart too. It needs your heart. You may have a lot, in your head. You may be more knowledgeable than everyone else in the room. But I think we need you to have your heart as well in the right place. We need you to have your heart in the right place to say, this is the best way I should apply my knowledge, my skill, and for the benefit of this country, of these people who have suffered, of these people, our people, with the history that I started with when I was beginning my speech to you. So it's that is, if you have a good combination of these two, if you are conscious, if your conscience tells you what it should, then you will stop being too careless about so many things. Careless or even reckless at times. Or it will remind you that you alone cannot achieve much without the other. Therefore, we will be reminded that after all, talking to your neighbor, talking to your workmate, talking to each other is going to be more beneficial than anything else to achieve our ambitions, our goals. As simple as that, but as clear as that as well. If you want to stand out on your own as an individual who feels they have everything they need and they are more important than others, then you have created a serious problem, a very serious problem, and for all of us. You know, yesterday, when you were coming here, I don't know, as I saw in that picture, I think you are always online. You are. No, there was a nice picture I saw. You were in the buses you came in. There's a picture which shows everybody in one bus busy with their mobile phone. Everybody. I don't know how it happened that all of them in the bus at one point were just busy with their mobile phones. They are not talking to each other, they are talking to their mobile phones. Did you see that? Yeah, there is something, I think it is on this thing, Kurubuga, Changwa, something like that. Well, when I saw the picture, I think somebody who put it there really wanted to put you in front of a mirror to look at yourselves. But for me, I started imagining, I said, you know, these people going to the retreat, they must be busy now. For the last 1 year, they are now trying to coordinate things back in the office, trying to catch up on on something they have missed this whole past year since the last retreat. If you look, you will find it. But it was, but the picture itself looks weird. Having people 10 more, each one, even the one sitting next to the other, they are not talking, they are well, they might actually have been talking to each other through the mobile phone. That is also possible. Instead of directly talking to the other, they could have been spending some little money on airtime, talking to each other, sitting next. But this 14th retreat, how can we come here to this retreat like we left in the last one and not improved? How can the 14th retreat be for us like it was during the 13th and 12th and 11th and 10th, and it becomes the same. How? Because we can't learn, we don't learn, or what? And when I'm saying this, raising these questions, every day I try to follow what goes on in every sector that you have to remind and say, you remember, we agreed this. Didn't we say this? You say, yeah. So why are you doing this? You say, oh, no, I'm actually going to do what you just said. Now I'm going to do it. You say, okay, but why didn't you do it? No, I'm going to do it. The kind of forgetfulness, kwibagirwa, I'm sorry. It can't be natural. It can't be the normal kwibagirwa we know. No, it can't be. It just can't be. It is a symptom of something else. Absolutely. You know how many times we have talked about ministries and institutions and so on, the contracts we enter into with all kinds of either service providers or others. Meaning, as we sit here, we represent our country, we represent government, we represent. You are involved with companies, private companies or whatever, who have to do something. And every time you look at these contracts after they've been signed, you really find they are in favor of one party. And that party is not going to be ours. It is the other party. This is, I'm sure if you want, we'll go into some of these details at some point. Then you ask, you say, but suppose something goes wrong with the other one you are having a contract with. What happens to you? Do you lose? It doesn't matter how much. Do you just lose and that's okay? But even the other one gains at your expense because everything is about the other one. The safeguards are about the other one's interests, not yours. This is a common thing. Until yesterday or today, as I'm speaking, I see these things every day. You ask, did this involve competent people on our side? Oh, was it, lawyers or whichever profession that should have participated? Did it involve our people? Are they knowledgeable in these matters, in this area? They said yes. But what happened? What happened that they did not represent our interests? On this one, we have got to do something about it, one way or the other. You can't be automatically the loser in every case. And in this, I don't think it's an issue of simply lacking competence. No. It's It's not competence. It's just some wrongdoing that I cannot explain. Well, half of it I can try and imagine and explain by saying, certainly, given all the people who are involved, say, in drafting and later on signing this contract, I don't think all of us are losers. Maybe the ones who actually participated have a gain in doing things that way. For me, it's simple to come to that conclusion. The rest of us who are being represented are losers, but the ones who participated, I'm not sure whether in all cases they are losers or they feel they are losing. I think they gain together with the other ones, the other party. There's no question about it. I think I have a right to think like that. But we cannot accept that this goes on. If you ask how much we've lost in this kind of carelessness or recklessness from people who deal with our public finances, it's incredible. A country like ours, at the same time, which really has limited resources, and yet, again, huge ambitions. We have huge ambitions, we have limited resources, but in between, we have people who represent us who can afford to lose as much as they can lose. So are we matching ambitions with our actions by doing this? And worse still, by doing it forever? And it never changes? And you have, now, as I said earlier, increasingly, we are having the people you say we didn't have, who should be having these capacities, the competencies. I believe it is no longer the issue. It can't be the issue of competencies. It can't be the issue of capacities. It has to do with some malaise which you must examine and get rid of. And as fast as we can. Because doing things this way does not fit into what I started explaining about us. It doesn't at all. And we will be seeing more of these things going forward with our agenda. These things will come up. And you will see somebody responsible being asked to say, explain this. And somebody says, oh, I'm sorry. The only short answer for that is, I'm sorry. I apologize. The next day, I apologize. Another week, I apologize. Another month, I apologize. That's all we have had. I don't know what we have in this. Now, let me conclude on this. In fact, much as what I have been saying is to do with, well, first of all, things done well, and from which you get good results. That's one. Number two, things done not so well, sometimes really terrible. We incur a huge loss from that. Maybe one or two people gain from those malpractices, but the country loses hugely. There is a third that I'm actually talking about that I'm so concerned about. It is what we don't do that we are capable of doing, and that holds for us incredible potential that actually would resolve some of these other problems we are seeking to resolve. What we don't do at the right time, that would give us what you've been needing all this time. We're just ignoring it, by not thinking about it, by even when it is there in front of you, you don't see it. You don't see it. You don't see the potential some of these things have, and that fall within our own means, that we are capable of doing. And yet we continue. Yes, we can keep congratulating ourselves for some of the good things we've done and good results thereof. That's okay. But why don't you do more that you are capable of doing? Do you have ambition? Do you have a sense of urgency? You know, again, given the context and the circumstances and the background I have just been referring to about our country, about us, achieving what we have set out to achieve for ourselves is really not for the half-hearted. So it's not, well, let alone the heartless. It's half-hearted. It's one thing. You can't just, but you can't just achieve much by being half-hearted. Later on, you understand that if you can't do much with half, then you are worse off with even that half not being there. I'm talking about being hearted. So let me wind up by hoping that we've come here settled in our minds that we can do serious business, that we can take stock, as you earlier said, that we can re-examine things, even ourselves, and see if we can reboot ourselves to go back on track and do what we have to do, and also what the people of Rwanda are waiting for from us, or even waiting for from themselves by us enabling them to do that. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much.